It's time. It's time for Pucknology. Pucknology. After dark. After dark. Oh my.
Yeah, oh my, indeed. This one kind of hurts. The Sharks lose 2-1 to the Nashville Predators. Welcome to this edition of Pucknology After Dark. I am PuckGuy14 on Twitter, otherwise known as Eric Kura, joined by the other Eric, spelled correctly, Eric Landy, and the guy who never sleeps in
It's true.
Canada, Ian Reed, who
Hey,
is doing double header of Sharks podcasts tonight.
true story. We recorded Teal Tinted Glasses tonight. Should be out sometime tomorrow, I would assume. And here I am after watching the third period of what appeared to be an awful game.
That's right. If you want to be a part of the show, use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark. Follow us on Twitter. You can look at all of those beautiful Twitter handles: Pucknology, Puckguy14, AJ underscore Strong, J Alexander 46, Chris JWS, Eric Landy, I read Pucknology. That was a great one. SJ Sharkbite. I need to add Wendell and Rocket into that graphic. Some very soon. We'll do that on Saturday.
Sounds good.
All right, so guys, let's talk about tonight's game. Sharks lose 2-1, dropping the record to 5-4. I mentioned in the pregame posting on technology.net that this is a crucial game uh, early on because the West is so tight already, especially in the Central Division where Nashville now leapfrogs over Dallas. Uh, the the race between the top spot in the West and down to where the Sharks sit at the number 4 spot in the wild card is separated by 5 points. I'll start with you, Landy. You can't let up, and this is one of those games where you need to at least get it to overtime.
Yeah, you needed the points here. They just couldn't get it. Yeah, if you look at it, you see the resurgence of LA. You see Arizona coming on, and then you see Vancouver. All of them won their last game and really put pressure on the Sharks. And what did the Sharks do? They didn't do anything. Um, it was kind of a flat game when they really needed to come out hard.
Definitely. Ian, good evening to you.
You.
It's one of those things where it was fairly a light night for Pecorine.
hmm Who's like I wish I grabbed the numbers before the game started. Pecorine he's a shark killer. He's got some pretty ridiculous career numbers against the Sharks. And it continues because 1 goal, 20 shots. That still looks good.
Yeah, Rene with 20 saves. Uh,
20 saves. Sorry, yeah.
Martin Jones, decent night with 22 saves. He unfortunately uh, had some rough shots. I thought that last goal by Yarncroc looked like it might have deflected off of Tennyson as he was diving out to try to uh, deflect it away. Um,
Yeah, I still think he'd want that one back though.
I agree. I think that's one he would regret. I thought the
Yeah.
first one too. I thought he would regret that one at the same time.
Yeah,
Um,
both were softies, in my opinion.
yeah, and it kind of deflated the team early on. And I even got like a tweet from, I'm trying to remember who wrote it tonight. Raiderman94. He said that pretty quickly. Um, you know, 2 hours ago. It's okay. This game is over. No need to rush the rest. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's the sentiment of the fan base right now. Once again, it wasn't a sellout. They did say that the attendance was 15,200
Mhm.
plus. Uh, from the pictures, and I'm sure you could see it somewhere online tonight. It did not look like 15,000 inside the Shark Tank. Um,
No.
No, no, not at all.
no, it was
No.
pretty scary to see. I've never seen the Shark Tank that empty before. And you can say that it's just, it's the weeknight, or it's natural. No. At the one time the place was selling out like hotcakes. You can't tell
Hmm.
me it's that. AJ wrote an awesome article about it on Pucknology.net, describing it. And we also kind of talked about this as the ramifications from the reverse sweep, that with the Niners opening up Levi's, and throw in what the Giants have done, throw in what the Warriors have done.
Hmm.
The money is being spent somewhere else. And for that matter, throwing in the Barracuda at that factor. Um,
But their numbers are atrocious. You know what I mean? Like I still find like their numbers aren't anything to write home about to super include that as a factor. And that's my opinion.
well, I went with Gentry the other night and walked right up with 15 minutes before the game began, and it was pretty empty as it is, and we got lower bowl seats for $12.
Hmm.
I think you're gonna have a lot of people say, "Hey, I'll take
Oh yeah,
$12
no, I'm not
and my
begrudging
crappy team."
the money, but it's just like at the same time though, it's like I don't know how much of that is cutting into the Sharks dollar because of just like they're not really drawing very well, and if you take a lot of people are, it seems like a lot of people are doing both still. I don't see a lot of people. I don't know a lot of people. I shouldn't say, I can't speak for obviously all the people attending the Barracuda game, but the people I talk to are all people that are still, Sharks pack holders or or even season ticket holders that are still taking in Barracuda games. So I don't know how much that's eating into it. Daryl Martin on Twitter, just a general tweet that he put out um, at KingShark49. He says, as for the drop in attendance, several factors, including economy, tough to get excited when the owner is indifferent about winning a cup.
I don't think it's that. I think the fact that the organization has continually raised prices has really dampened the fan base.
Yeah, I mean they even sent out an offer to the Barracuda season ticket holders for a ticket to the Columbus Blue Jackets game coming up once the Sharks return from their quick weekend road trip. I've never heard of that one before. And when looking at Owen Nolan night next Saturday, uh, there are seats that begin at $52, but they're behind. They're on the opponent's attack twice, behind Jones for two periods.
Mm-hmm.
Those will start up at $52. Everything else will start at 70, and
Yep.
I think that's part of the problem here. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I understand that you do need to make a buck and everything, but $70 to sit in nosebleeds essentially,
Mm-hmm.
um, with a team that's going to be with a Barracuda team that will be playing at 1 o'clock
Yep.
that same day. You're kind of pushing it a little bit there.
Yeah. And it's not that a couple of the teams too. I think I'd want to point out, like Carolina doesn't really draw. I don't find that Carolina, like you never really see Carolina fans really travel. I mean, I'm sure that some of them do, but they don't seem to draw well in other arenas. Like you don't really see a lot of visiting fans for some teams, and I think Carolina is definitely one of those teams. Nashville, I think, to a lesser extent, doesn't exactly travel amazingly either.
No,
True.
and not only that, but I mean, I was there at the game on Saturday, and I only saw one Carolina fan.
Hmm.
Um, but you also, as a organization, can't be putting your expectation for selling out on the fact that you're going to have opponents buying these seats.
No, no, no. I agree.
And I think it's just a lack of the organization being in tune with the fan base.
Hmm. I can't remember if AJ mentioned this in the article or not too. And I think another thing with the attendance numbers too is that the secondary market is taking an absolute pounding. People are obviously losing a lot of money in the secondary market where they could, at least make back face on a ticket in years past. And I think that's part of the issue too, is that, last year I think a lot of people who were season ticket holders, got destroyed in the secondary market, and maybe it wasn't feasible for them to re-up with season tickets again based on that alone.
Yeah, I mean, sure, Nashville, Carolina, Columbus aren't exactly ones that teams come out or
No,
fans come out for. It's
no, they're not.
totally different when
Vancouver,
you.
Detroit.
Yeah, it's not Vancouver, Detroit, Montreal, Toronto, where they come in and try to invade. Um,
But even
yeah,
even the Kings game wasn't a sellout.
right. Well, yeah, I would almost kind of blame that partly because you had a Niners game going on at the same time. Uh, I mean, it was just a few hundred short of a sellout,
Hmm. Yeah,
but
football's still
you know,
king.
right. But I mean, in looking at, and I'll give kudos to HockeyDB.com, that has the average attendance for the Barracuda at
Hmm.
4,387. Uh, that's probably actually a little bit better than what they were doing in Worcester last year.
That's
However,
skewed by a decent opening night too, though.
right, they had almost 7,000 for their first home game. So we'll see. Let's go to the tweets right now. Laurel Pitter tweeted, "Am I the only one that feels it's early in the season and some fans may be saving their money for the later games?" That's a great point
Hmm.
because, like we said, Carolina, um, who else? Columbus, they're all coming. And remember, this is the first year that the team didn't put out the entire schedule up for sale in September. They only put out the first 15 games, and down the road, like Toronto will be in town, Montreal. I'm not even sure if the Chicago game right before Thanksgiving is available for sale just yet. But it's very, very interesting to see what will happen. Obviously, there's going to be invasions, of course,
Yeah.
but compare it to Anaheim, where they were going to be selling tickets on Ticketmaster and StubHub starting at like $10. Um, there's obviously some sort of demand for the Sharks.
Yeah.
Uh, it just seems it just seems weird uh, to see. Gen X, had a great comment too. Seriously, if even quote unquote magic first year man DeBoer can't get the Sharks to play better than last year, how bad does that make Wilson look? And that's to which I say, are the real Sharks back?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, old
It certainly
habits.
looked like it.
Yeah,
yeah.
on the power play, like how they. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Eric.
No, you're
Oh
I
good.
no,
was just gonna say, on the power play, you saw them. You started seeing like old habits die hard. You saw Thornton just kind of hanging on the half boards. Looking for the perfect pass, and it just seems like when everything goes wrong with this team, the coaching staff they always seem to just revert to these bad habits, and there's been no coaching staff that's been able to correct that so far. And I'm trying not to get too salty about this because it's still early, but at the same time, like, you have to at least wonder, like, obviously, as much as maybe we don't want to admit it, personnel is probably an issue here.
It is, but I mean, how outside Marlowe, Thornton, Pavelski, Vlasic.
Hmm.
I'm sure I'm missing some off the top of my head. Out of those four,
Hmm.
that whole roster's changed. If you go back
Yeah.
to when they beat Calgary in the '08 playoffs, I mean that roster has changed drastically. There are teams that there have been players like even Brad Lukowich who was gone.
Hmm.
Ehrhoff is gone. I mean, you gotta start wondering where. Okay, is it all Thornton? Does he have to have that? And again, I even mentioned this on Twitter tonight. Joe Thornton, he's got the puck, he's racing it, and once he gains that blue line, he turns around and waits for somebody to help him when they're trailing behind, and you have three Predators
Yeah.
already in the zone. You're just asking for trouble with that tonight.
but yeah, especially with their defense.
And they
Right.
couldn't complete a pass to save their lives. I mean, again, I only caught like the third period, and I just looked at the numbers for the other two. But just the observation, they couldn't complete a pass to save their life until the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and a total lack of desperation in that second period when you were down a goal. And only could muster, I think it was 4 shots on goal in the entire period. That's so piss poor. That power play is so piss poor right now. They're not moving the puck efficiently.
No.
They're not even able to set up in the zone efficiently. And then you get that scraggly second power play unit on there, and they can't do jack either. They're just dumping and chasing on a power play. So that really was upsetting to me, just how inefficient the power play was. And I mean, I don't even care that it didn't produce goals. I just want to see shots on net. I mean, because Pekka Rinne, is a goalie who will stop, 95% of all shots on him. So you got to make a lot of shots on him to try and get 5% of something through.
Well, and you have to be in the area so that you can get those, the occasional rebound he spits out. You got to be there to bury that. And the net front presence wasn't, other than the last 2 minutes. I don't know how it was earlier in the game, but
Pavelski's goal was the only. Yeah, Pavelski's goal was the only semblance we saw all game of it.
But Pavelski was getting hammered in the slot in front of the net. I mean, he was taking cross checks left and right. I think even Brody Brazil tweeted out a picture of how many times he was getting cross checked by Weber or Jones, and he, to his credit, he stayed in there and he finally got a shot off, which that's great. It tied the game at 1. You kind of thought the tide was turning a little bit. They had a little bit of that dominant swagger that we talked about before in the zone. Unfortunately, just no luck whatsoever trying to bury that tying goal or even the go-ahead goal when they were tied at the time. Looking at the shot totals, looks like they only had 3 shots total on the power play, and I believe they were 0 for 2.
0 for 2.
0 for 2 for the power play, which makes it now 3 for 28 on the power play this season.
Yeah.
I believe that is. I would be shocked if it's not the worst power play in the NHL.
Oh, the Ducks might have us beat.
Oh gosh, really? That would be.
I don't know. I will find it for you.
We will look at it up while we do that. But
I think. Oh, Mr.
Strong. Uh-oh.
What's up, boys?
Hey, what's going on?
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Arena Club, it is
from the club level bar. It's your buddy. It's your pal. It's AJ.
All right.
I have friends too that I've just met.
Hi.
Oh,
hello.
How are you?
Hello.
Would you like a drink here?
Oh, I will take a Sharkarita after that loss for tonight.
Is that someone else? Oh, hi.
Oh yeah. So this is Eric.
Hi, Eric.
That's Ian.
Ian.
This is also Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Hi.
Hello.
This is
hello.
Karma.
Hey, we'll call you guys E2 squared. like Eric squared?
No, I'm just known as Landy.
You guys, I could be an E2 squared.
You guys are having a really cool chat right now.
Hey, reserved.
We do
I like
we
that.
do this after every game.
Really?
After every
We
game.
discuss the game and what's happened, what's going on.
I like that a lot.
Well, you have to
actually.
subscribe. See, I'm out here promoting the brand. What the fuck
That's-
are you guys doing, man?
We're talking about how crappy our power play was
we did
tonight, AJ.
2
Get it out.
podcasts tonight, AJ. Get off my butt.
I'll jump
Man.
on soon, boys. Just had to
All
mess with
right.
you.
Wow.
So I don't know when this.
AJ's having fun tonight.
I don't know.
He seems so upset after that loss.
At least somebody's having fun.
That's true.
So I don't know when this is how I don't know if this is how up to date this is, but I'm on NHL.com statistics for team, and for power play futility is being led by surprisingly the Pittsburgh Penguins. Next would be the Anaheim Ducks, Carolina Hurricanes, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then the San Jose Sharks.
Wow.
That's the company we're keeping, and just ahead of and just Below us in the futility is the Arizona Coyotes. This is the company we are keeping.
I think it's time to split up the top power play unit
It-
and split up the number one line as well.
I think so too. I don't see what Donskoy really has been contributing to the team. Even before he got hurt. I mean, yeah, his first NHL goals.
Relentless forechecker.
He goes off Pavelski's shot on his butt,
Mhm.
and into the net. I mean, that's great and all, but you know, Melker Carlson's not ready to go.
No.
Goldovin was okay. Haley didn't do much when he was up here. Mind you, he was on the fourth line.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how much more you should expect of Michael Haley, to be completely honest.
No, I don't think you should expect much.
I mean, who else would you put on that top line?
No,
Put
so
Nieto on, but you can't put any other center on because Hurdle has to center the second line.
that's where I disagree. I think it's time to break up Pats and Thornton.
Yeah.
I think you need to go Thornton number one, Pavs number two, Hurdle number three, Tierney number four, and then start building around the centers.
Yeah.
At this point, I think that our center depth is really starting to show, and we did very well in the faceoffs tonight. But just the creativity of the second and third lines wasn't there. They weren't able to push through that defensive structure of the Predators tonight, and they get kind of reverted back to that chip and chase.
Yeah.
And that's some ugly hockey to watch.
With the capital U.
Yeah. And the third line, like I only caught the last game. The third line didn't look fantastic, but it was getting just eviscerated on Twitter. I noticed tonight. So I don't know how much of that is just people just being angry for the sake of being angry, or what you guys thought of the third line.
They were fairly sloppy. I'll be honest. Yeah. They had some chances, but they seemed sloppy. It doesn't help that Tierney was centering Wingles and Nieto. But kind of getting back to the lines per se, if you do put Pavs in the number two center and then move everybody back down, does that mean Ben Smith goes up into the top line?
Oh no.
No, I don't think so.
I think you get rid of Brown and put him on the wing.
Well, no, I think he's asking who goes to the number one.
Oh, yeah, number one line.
I'd say maybe Ward.
Yeah.
You try putting Ward up there, and then you bring Wingles up to the second line, so you have a Pats, Wingles, Marlowe.
Yeah,
then that third line of Hurdle, Nieto, and then maybe Smith. That might be a good third line.
Yep.
And then Gaudreau, Tierney, and Brown, I guess, for the sake of having him. I mean, Tierney, for whatever reason, made Brown look like a decent player. So,
yeah.
If there was some way to do that, again, I think that's what you go with. And I think you do a Jumbo, Ward, Donskoy number one line, although I don't think Donskoy's earned his spot on that top line. But I think it's better than having Pavs and Jumbo together and not spreading that well.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it just seems like Jumbo is looking for that perfect pass to Pavelski. And I just don't think you can really do that anymore because it's coming. I mean, Nashville took full advantage of it. And looking at the ice numbers tonight, the bottom, the fourth line, Ben Smith played under 8 minutes. Mike Brown played 8:30. Goodrow played 9 minutes. That's probably partly because of his
penalty
killing.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, outside of that, everybody was in the 14 to 17-minute range for forwards, and Burns and Vlasic, 20, 23, 24 minutes. I mean, that's nice to have it spread around. You're not seeing Tennyson, get only just 7 minutes while Martin and Burns are playing at half the game.
Yeah.
You know, that's good on that part. Unfortunately, um, you know, the results have to come sooner or later. And now you're starting to wonder, okay, when are these guys going to get off the schneid here? Because Pavelski scores the goal tonight. Ward scored 3 on Saturday night, but you haven't heard anything too much from Marlowe, from
No.
Thornton. Um, Hurdle's has gotten some assists. We'll give him credit for that, but you know, these secondary guys that we saw early on contribute are not exactly
Well, and I think that
maximum.
goes back to the center deployment, because now when you put Hurdle up a line, you put Tierney up a line, and then you're forced to inject Smith. What that ends up happening is that their quality of competition goes skyrocket, right?
Yeah.
So where you had Hurdle feasting on inferior third lines, and you had
Yes.
Tierney just making people look really stupid as a fourth line center, you're not having that anymore.
No.
And Hurdle, he's done an admirable job defensively. Hasn't really done much to thrive offensively as a second line center. Um, so I think it's time that they need to slot everybody back into their same spots, and then I think that secondary scoring will kind of come organically.
Right. From Ice Frenzy, Alexa, hello, my friend, says bench Tennyson and then cry until Logan comes back. Oh, that we'd be crying for quite some time. We don't need to do that right now. It's still early, but you better get going because it's going to be getting late sooner or later. Uh,
Yeah.
No, and you know what? And like I said at the beginning of the Couture injury, I said, you know what? It would be lucky if we went 500, and keeping a 500 pace until he gets back, and then really bringing it into gear when he gets back, because at least you haven't taken yourself completely out of the game yet.
Right.
right. I
Yeah.
mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say. I mean, like, obviously the special teams issue, and that's hugely indicative of the loss of Couture. You know, the fact that our special teams have completely gone upside down. And you know what? Someone has to step up at some point too. They need to change the lines. Like we can't just, you can't just lose the season and be like, oh, well, we lost Couture. That makes it okay. It doesn't make it okay.
No.
Other teams have injuries. Other teams persevere. The Sharks have to find that perseverance at this point, because otherwise it's going to be a long year.
No,
Couture's not going to be back till December.
yeah, no, well, November, right?
Yeah.
I think Thanksgiving
Yeah, I
is
think
when
they were
we're
hoping by American Thanksgiving that he would be returning.
Yeah, but even
Um,
still, like that's best case scenario.
well,
Right.
yeah, plus the conditioning stint he'll need.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that they can't be married with Joe and Joe married at the hip anymore.
Yeah.
They've got
I
to
agree.
split that up and really spread that center depth around, because right now these lines that Hurdle and Tierney are going up against are just too much for them. And I've seen some people blasting the farm system that this is the farm system's fault. It's not.
No.
It's the fact is that these kids were rushed into spots that they shouldn't be taking yet because of the dumb moves that have been made previous.
Yeah.
And the talent for Hurdle and the talent for Tierney is there, and both will bloom.
hmm
But their injection into the NHL so quickly, well, this is the drop off that you're seeing because of that.
Something I mentioned on Teal Tinted Glasses tonight too, and Wendell's gonna slap me for spoiler alert, but I think it needs to be said. The Sharks have done a good job of rebuilding that prospect pool, but a lot of their A+ guys are still in junior. They're not ready. They can't come to the Barracuda, and they're not ready for the NHL. So I mean, they're gonna have to take time, and that's because the cupboard was so depleted before the 2014 draft is what I would say.
Right.
It's going to take time for there's guys in the system. There's reinforcements coming, but they're not there now. And you can cry about the farm system, but the fact of the matter is our best prospects are just not available right now. We've got guys in college. We've got guys in junior. It is what it is.
Yeah, agreed. And you know what? I think now it's time for some creative, out of the box thinking for these lines because you know what? This is now the going back to the I guess the Devils game. This is now the fifth game where things have just not been chugging along, and due to inferior competition, we've been able to get a couple of wins. But yeah, you can't continue going on like this.
No.
But at the same time, you look at and see, as you look at the standings, Vancouver is 4-2-3 with 11 points, and they have a trio of youngsters that have been phenomenal for them, and they're coming up to a decision on whether or not they're going to be sending them back to
down
junior or I think in Horvat's case down to Utica, where they have to decide what are they going to do with these guys, and they've been playing very well, especially last night in the streak besting game against Montreal.
Well, let's see, game 42, right? Because these kids are going to be used to the pacing of the NHL schedule. I mean, even the CHL kids, they do play an extended amount of time, but they're not used to the rigors of the NHL. So while yes, Vancouver is off to a good start, I think their foundation is going to be a little unstable coming along. I mean, because we saw that with Mueller last year.
Yep.
Mueller looked good for the first 20, 30 games, and then kind of just dropped off the mountain.
And that's also the case, even though he's not one of the rookie youngsters and such. That's also the case with Martin Jones. He has not played a full NHL schedule, and he's only had one game off.
Yep.
Now, I would think as we go into the weekend when we play Dallas and Colorado, Alex Stalock is going to get a start in one of those
It better
games.
be against Colorado.
It's better be against Colorado, although he did play fairly well against Dallas last season. But Dallas is a totally different beast this season, and Antti Niemi is going to be, if he starts that game.
If he starts, yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, I have a question for you guys both, and it was something I was thinking during the broadcast of the game. Had we fired McClellan or mutually parted ways a year earlier, would you have wanted DeBoer or would you have wanted Laviolette?
I would have taken Laviolette.
I would have taken Laviolette as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I was too because
I kind of wanted him originally when McClellan was there. For that matter, I also wanted Quenneville, but Doug decided whether or not on DeBoer or McClellan. So put that in your idea as to what he's thinking for coaching candidates. He passed on Quenneville and was deciding on DeBoer or McClellan.
Yeah, because you look at the state of the Nashville defense, and it's headed up by some rookie blue liners. And while their prospect development system for blue liners is very good, I think that the Laviolette system develops and masks defensemen's flaws very good. And I think his system is very conducive to bringing defensemen up because they're not forced to be as defensively responsible, whereas you see some of the forwards kind of coming back deeper into the zone and helping them out. So I just wonder if this system plus our young defensemen that Peter DeBoer has is kind of some of the issue here as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and the Predators got some luck in their draft too. Seth Jones, I mean, basically fell into their lap, much like Noah Hannafin fell into Carolina's lap this year. I mean, that was a huge thing for them to get Seth Jones where they did, because he should have, in my opinion, gone, probably second, maybe third, tops.
Yeah, they've gotten very fortunate on defense. It's not just Shea Weber anymore. So that's where Nashville can be very dangerous. And yes, they lost in 6 games to the eventual Cup champs, but also remember they played through I think a 4 overtime game as well against Chicago and played them very hard. If that series were to have gone 7 games, it could have been a toss up for
Mhm.
sure. And Nashville is at that point where they're tired of it. Um, you know, they've only won I think 2 playoff series in their team history, and yet for some reason they don't have a choker status, or like St. Louis hasn't gone to the conference finals since 2001, yet they don't have a choker status.
Oh, I disagree with that. I think that St. Louis is. I think
Yeah,
their immunity
their
from that is
resume.
over.
Yeah, their
If you were
resume
to
is starting to
ask
build.
people, if you were to ask people who are which NHL team chokes the most, they'll
Oh,
say the San Jose Sharks.
sure, because the reverse sweep is still fresh in everyone's minds. But right next to us is St. Louis is going to be the next team they list off at this
Oh,
point.
sure.
Yeah, especially if St. Louis doesn't get to the conference finals this year.
They can go out of the
One,
first round.
yeah, one Hitchcock is going to be shit canned. Two, I just we're going to see the dismantling of that team soon.
Got
Yeah,
some funny
I-
tweets here.
go for it.
Oh, just from the always good Generation X wing, Patrick. Um, he says, so thanks to SAP, even the Sharks are running 25% more efficient in ticket purchasing. It was the first one.
Oh.
NHL stat site is powered by SAP, so it's likely a year behind on updating. Very likely. Uh, and he just said blasting the farm system is essentially the same as blasting Doug Wilson. If the cupboard is bare, it's on him. And while I'd agree with that, I just kind of remind the point that I made that that the cupboard isn't as empty as it looks if you. I mean, yes, if you're just looking at the Barracuda to the Sharks, yeah, it doesn't look very good right now. But there's a lot of really good prospects still playing junior.
Sharks
And
Waves in
then
there.
yeah,
Sorry, didn't mean to
and then his
overlap.
GIF of I don't know how to make them go on the screen, but it's a funny GIF, so you should follow Generation X Wing and see it.
Yes, I think it's Bender from
It's Futurama, yeah.
Futurama walking out like a pimp with 2 female robots. That one's for you, Gen X. You're on fire tonight. One thing I want to touch up on, and Eric, if you could put the hockey fights cancer graphic up,
I will.
because I know if you guys are watching the first game of the doubleheader on NBCSN, you know, the one that they promoted the hell out of because it's
Crispy, Ovechkin. Oh, we're still not tired of it.
What the hell was that?
Think about it.
Whoa, whoa!
That hurt my ears.
Back off the mic, Eric. Back off the mic.
You do not need to deep throat the mic.
That's what she said.
But they were talking about Barry Trotz's tie. Apparently, it was going to be going. I guess it was like an in-game auction at a Verizon Center where it was going to be signed by Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. But that's not just the only tie auction going on. If you go onto auctions.nhl.com, they are having a game-worn tie auction. The proceeds will go to Hockey Fights Cancer. These are actual ties worn in game day broadcasts from some of your favorite NHL broadcasters, such as Randy Hahn, Brody Brazil, Jamie Baker, Brett Hedican, Drew Remenda. Wait, who's Drew Remenda? I can get away with saying that because AJ's not here. And many, many more. For more info, make sure you follow at NHL Ties on Twitter for details. It's a great cause. It would be great to have uh, the hockey ties. I think is what it's searched through on NHL.com. Beat EA Sports' donation total. So, getting back, I guess starting to focus on Dallas here. Um, it's a noon start out here. It's a 2 p.m. start in Dallas, and it's a weird back-to-back where they will play both games at noon. Historically, that's not exactly the greatest thing for the Sharks. Um, and Dallas is for real. It's another Central Division team that is right at the top of the standings. They're 7-2. Um, and with a
Yeah.
dangerous power play, I mean the penalty kill has to be on point, and the team overall has to be disciplined and have one of their best games of the year.
Agreed.
You know, and the scary thing about the Central Division is all these teams, like they're all doing pretty well. They're all within, I think the 15 to 11 with the Jets with 11 points in sixth, and then Colorado's obviously terrible. But all the teams other than Colorado, who again is terrible, they're all plus goal differentials for the whole division. Other than Colorado's, all plus positive goal differentials, probably more than any other division in the league.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the Western Conference standings right now. Nashville at 15, Dallas at 14, St. Louis at 13. And then in the wild card spots right now is Minnesota at 13, Chicago at 12, and Winnipeg is on the outside looking in at 11. But what you just said, all of them have plus goal differentials, and only Edmonton, Colorado, Arizona, and Calgary and Anaheim. Calgary and Anaheim are over 16, a negative
Yeah.
16 in goal differentials. Outside of that, they're all plus. Outside of Arizona, they're -1. So they're
Arizona,
getting their goals
Edmonton
scored.
-7.
Yeah, I mean they're all getting their goals, and they're playing well at home. They're they're just getting it on their right streaks. And like I said earlier today, you gotta bank points in early. That's when the Sharks started 4-0. They needed to jump on the string big time because you want to bank them early. Otherwise, you're going to start falling behind. And right now, the Sharks are starting to fall behind.
Yep.
And it's already and we're talking about the end of October. I know it's too early to talk about playoffs, but this is what we saw from the Sharks early on. They had a huge run early, and then when they faltered in February, that's when all hell broke loose.
Right. And you can say, small sample size, but all the teams in the Central Division, again, other than the terrible Avalanche, they all have winning records. All of them.
They all have 6 wins outside of Winnipeg and Colorado. And Colorado has 2, Winnipeg has 5. I mean, so they're.
Oh, shut up! Calm down.
AJ, where are your dates?
I'm sorry?
Where are your dates?
Oh, they had to take off. Mommy and Daddy came to pick them up. Just kidding.
No.
No. There you go. That's what I was waiting for. Goddamn it.
Right, so we're getting close to
any significant? I'm kind of bummed that that my buddy scored tickets tonight, because I actually had a list of 5 different bullet point things that I did want to discuss tonight. I wanted to discuss the attendance issues, which, based on tonight, are not getting any better. There were banks of seats. I don't know what the announced paid attendance number was for tonight.
They said it was 15,219.
And is that less than last Saturday?
Yes. By a couple, maybe a couple hundred.
Okay.
Yeah, that was paid attendance.
Exactly. That's paid attendance. That's not used tickets. So I'm telling you,
corporate seating.
Yeah, and I'm looking up. I was sitting in the lower bowl, the club area of 202, looking up towards the upper deck behind where the Sharks shoot twice, and you are talking just like my attendance article on Pucknology, where I embedded the Ticketmaster graphic. It looks pretty much what it was, where you saw rows 4, 5, 6 rows of sections in the upper deck that were completely empty, undisturbed. No one is there. And tonight, just to let you know, we won tickets that were in section. Hold on. Where were those seats tonight? What section were we in that you won? 217. Okay, we were like in row 9, 217. Those are the tickets that he won, and we stayed in those until like halfway through the first while we eyeballed other sections. We sat in row 15 of 201 or 101 the rest of the game. Had fantastic. I mean, you can see some of the pictures I put out on Twitter. So that was one thing I wanted to get into tonight. I wanted to get into with Ian about the McDavid goal versus LA and how we don't have some sort of goddamn technology when you see the puck is under the guy's glove and blah blah blah. So that was one more thing I wanted to get into. Anyway,
I can answer that. There's the chip technology they're trying to do, but the cost of the pucks is pretty expensive for how many, on average, pucks go out of play in a game.
And
with Fox tracks.
I know.
No, and it also.
Well, then put nets around the whole fucking thing.
Or you do like what the NFL does and have a pylon cam. I'm sorry, Landy. Go ahead.
Oh, I just saying that it stabilizes the puck.
No, that too. Yeah.
Either way, it was one more thing that I wanted to touch on, and like I said, I thought there was 2 more bullet points that I had.
And we'll go over a lot of it after the game on Saturday.
Dude, it was a hell of a day, dude. I started off with like some major dental surgery. I had like, some sort of psychotropic drug that I like took today at about 2 o'clock, and I like I didn't know what my name was until about 7 tonight. So in other words, Guinness, boys and girls. That will help. So anyway, yeah, not a big fan, obviously, of tonight's thing. I felt like we saw a lot of guys that were out of place, even though, from what I understood, tonight was supposed to be a large part of putting pieces back into their normal places. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I found like I kept seeing guys. We're back to the T-Mac system where it's kind of like guys are trying to get too cute. They're trying to do too much, trying to get too pretty. I don't know how many times, whether it was Nieto or somebody else, who is taking the puck into the offensive zone with speed, crosses the blue line, and hits the goddamn brakes like there's a 250-foot stop sign right there when they could take it deep and try to cause some confusion on the low end. Hopefully the board's going to try to beat that out of them. Huh, Eric?
Oh, I was just going to say, or even just crash the net. Take it and go in and crash. Don't do the Joe Thornton thing, which you're skating it, and once you hit the blue line, say, turn around.
And then skate to the half boards.
Or stop shooting it into people's feet.
When you hit your brakes, when you're coming in with full-blown speed, you cross into the offensive zone, and then you hit your brakes. All you are doing is helping your opponent. So
get back into
making it easier for them to get the puck going the other way. So, not a big fan of the game tonight. There wasn't a whole lot of good things that I saw. I guess I can say Dylan looked a little better in certain situations. I'm still going to point to his contract and go, that's not what a 5'6" guy should be making. But it still comes along to, holy crap, is Couture the linchpin of the special teams or what? Because since Couture has gone down, the special teams for the Sharks has absolutely bottomed out. I mean, remember, we started this season off with the power play clicking at like 22%, and the PK was 100%. 0 for 11. And since then, nada.
Yeah,
so
it's
and then the thing I see with either Kevin Kurz or Plashenka or whatever the guy's name is, any of those guys that I see who cover them at the thing that kind of drives me nuts, it was like, oh no, we're concerned about special teams. We spent an entire 20 minutes on the power play today, and I'm like, Really, a whole 20 minutes? Do you understand that, like, some people in work, we call that, like, a cigarette break or a lunch hour when you're in the tech business?
You know, and that's
a little bit more on it.
And that's interesting too that you bring that up, because it's not like the Sharks are playing like a ton of games in a row. Like, I was kind of really freaking out for the lack of Sharks hockey, and you have stuff like this happening. Also, Rocket tweeted in Tennyson, someone take his skates and hide them.
I actually didn't have that much of a problem with Tennyson tonight, to be honest with you. If you were there, hold on. If you were there at the game, sorry, I have to power up. But if you were there at the game, Tennyson actually made some very nice moves behind the play that probably you didn't see on TV tonight. He to me, he was a stronger player than Dylan tonight. But as Chris and everybody else knows, Dylan's going to be my whipping boy this season for the most part. When you factor in what he does versus how many zeros are on his paycheck, there's a reason why he needs to be held to a higher standard. And I'm sorry, you don't pay a barely 5'6" defenseman over $3 million. You just don't. Show me any other team who does. So
yeah, Rocket has an awesome tweet because Nolan, a good friend of mine, at MLS Fan 20, he originally said it's sad yet funny at the same time that most of the timeline was talking about Sharks' piss poor attendance rather than the actual game. Rocket, after a couple of tweets came in, if they can't afford the Ice Girls hair and makeup budget next year, that would be rad.
Yeah, and the general trend on Twitter is that they want the organization to feel some kind of heat for this.
Yeah.
And finally feel the heat from firing Drew, from the lack of money being spent on the team for the increase in ticket prices.
Well, we're pretty much a cap team this year, though. I mean,
no, I mean,
if we're going to start discussing lack of attendance, which, I mean, let's be honest, we go another game or two like this where we're barely cracking 15. Yeah, I think it's something that the Sharks desperately need to take into account. I mean, we just put the article on Pucknology about just a couple of you can't blame it all on one thing. You can't blame it all on them raising the tickets. You can't blame it all on letting go of Drew or bringing in the Barracuda or the success of the Warriors. But when you're building a house, it doesn't start with one brick. You are building a foundation, and that is the case for me, where it's just kind of snipe after snipe after snipe to the fan base, where it was, here's a decision you don't like, well, we're going to pile on another decision you're not going to be happy about, and so on and so on and so forth. You can only kick a dog so many times that after a while, when you call his name, he's not going to come. He's going to tell you to go screw yourself. So I think that maybe we'll see something in the future of they kind of take advantage of the Throwback Thursday idea or something, and maybe they roll back the ticket prices for Thursday games to what it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago or something, where they try to do something to goose people into wanting to come to this. Because
how about that flex pricing we were sold?
Well, and see, you know what? It is so fucking funny that you bring that up, Landy. I was talking to my buddy who came to the game tonight, where I felt exactly the same way, and I'm looking it up on Ticketmaster, and I'm going, wait a minute, this is a Wednesday game versus, I mean, not that Nashville is shitty this season, but if you look at the history, especially in the playoffs where the Sharks have clearly had the better of Nashville, if you look at the history of it, Nashville has never been a huge draw.
Right.
Therein, this should be a game that is, say, maybe the seats are 10% less than of what face value normally is.
Well, that's where dynamic pricing was supposed to kick in.
Right.
But instead,
no. And what we've all come to find out is that dynamic pricing is absolute bullshit. All it is an excuse for teams to They have set their flat line. It's like
Yeah.
if you come to a game against the Colorado Rockies when Vogelsong is pitching on a Wednesday night, it's going to cost, if you want to sit on the third baseline, it's going to cost you $42. If you want to sit in that exact same seat to see Kershaw and the Dodgers play on a Saturday, that same $42 seat is now going to be $68. And then you bring up the fact, okay, well, what about Monday when I'm watching you guys play the Cleveland Indians with their, with the guy that they just called up? Yeah, that's still $42. It's like the basement has been set, and it's only going to go up. And that's the thing with the Sharks tickets with tonight, and that's why I'm saying it's just, dude, everything has gone up. Everything this year, with the exception of parking, bizarrely enough, but then parking is way too much as it is. $25 to park is ridiculous. But when you're talking that a beer that I was purchasing 2 years ago for $6.75 is now $8.25, yeah, that's a problem. A cheesesteak that I'm now paying like $9.25 for that I used to pay $7.50 for, yeah, that's a problem. And then looking at the Upper Bowl, I even looked at Ticketmaster tonight. Upper Bowl seats, if you want to sit in the front row of the Upper Bowl, it is $110. You're not even in the club level. But front row is $110, yet the seat behind that person is like $25 less, even though it's one row behind. Which is kind of silly, too, is because those front row, I get it, the Upper Bowl, it's like, well, there's no one in front of you, and you have like a little area to kind of like set your food, your drink, or whatever. But you know what? I'll save the $20-25 and sit one row behind them because I'm not sunken into it. Like, I'm right at the flat line. I'll get to it. But either way, like I said, something that we definitely need to get into a little bit further. I'll do some more research. We can discuss this on the next PAD. But if we're talking about having back-to-back games where, okay, you're going to tell me that the number sold, tickets sold, 15,000. All you have to do is come in here and go, that's great, but maybe about 12,500 were actually used. 2,500 fans stayed at home, either said, I don't need to watch this. They put them up on StubHub or some third-party site, said, yeah, well, couldn't tell them, whatever. But I do want to finish my final thought before I go. Thank you guys for having me on. But I was able to, in case you weren't aware, I was able to hook up with my BFF, who, of course, gave me Barracuda tickets. Now, the cool thing about this is... Huh?
You saved yourself $48 there. Nice.
Is that what they said? 48.
You're in.
No, believe me, I wasn't paying that much. Dude, have you been to a Barracuda game? Dude, no. The trick is that you buy like the fucking $17 ticket for the upper deck, and then you sit anywhere you want because they're only drawing in about 3,200 people. Right. So, no, but I did because of hearing from people like Ian and people like Landy and people like Puck Guy and a few other people. Because of hearing from them, I laid into Tor a little bit tonight, saying, "Hey, man, well, okay. See, I'm gonna say this, and I'm immediately in my mind. I see Gen X running towards his Photoshop, but I'm gonna say this anyway because AJ don't give a fuck right now. I told him, I'm like, dude, we had talked about, it'd be really cool if you could like maybe get a better craft beer, like it doesn't have to be all up in a certain section. Like you have that really cool hard alcohol bar on the mezzanines that has the Sharkaritas and all that shit. It would be so cool if you also had like a craft beer thing that had like Ballast Point and Stone and Deschutes and and a couple other ones. And we discussed that for a second, and then I had to say,
Oh no.
What's wrong with Eric's face? Did he get frozen? Oh, that's too bad. I wish I would have screenshotted that. But no, and so I pointed out to him. I go, I'm really bummed I had to edit your Wikipedia page, John. And he goes, What? What are you talking about? I said, well, I've been talking to all my friends. I go, you know that I'm the one who introduced the new goal song to you, right? He goes, yeah. I said, I didn't get shit for that. Not an autographed puck, not like glass seats, not a jersey. I got fucking nothing. So the only thing I could do is I had to go to like the Sharks Wikipedia page and say, hey, I'm responsible for the new goal song for the 25th anniversary. I'm like, dude, hook me up. And that's when he said, would you like some Barracuda tickets? You know what, though? Barracuda tickets? Worth about the same as a Nikki Sixx song. Am I right, Gen X?
And with that.
And with that, I'm gone. I will catch you guys.
Saturday.
I won't catch you guys on. Well, actually, I might because aren't the weekend games like noon and noon?
Noon and noon.
I'll catch you on one of them, boys. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.
All right. AJ Strong, everybody.
All right, so let's go over what we think's going to happen this weekend and what should happen this weekend.
Cool.
Sharks probably need to win both. They should beat Colorado. They should steal Dallas. If not, then practice against Nemo all these years was for nothing.
Yeah. Ian?
Yeah, I think that they absolutely should beat the Colorado Avalanche. That is a say must win at this point in the season. But if they can't beat Colorado, I just think they should quit. And then Dallas, man, as much as I don't like Niemi and I'm pretty vocal about it, I still remember Niemi playing the Sharks, and it was never good. So, yeah, I don't know.
But he also has defense, too. That's part of the reason why he
doesn't really have defense, though. Like, I don't think... I mean, it's an okay decor, but it's not anything to write home about. I don't think it's elite by any stretch of the imagination.
No, but I mean, he had an elite defense core in Chicago.
In Chicago, for sure.
Yeah, which made him look good. He didn't have that in San Jose, and
no, and he sure doesn't have it now.
Dallas?
No, I think they're about the same in my opinion. They could win that game, but would it shock me to see them lose it? Man, Dallas is on a roll. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked to see them lose against Dallas. Dallas is pretty good right now.
Yeah. No. I'd like to see them win both games, but probably what's going to happen is they're probably going to go 1-1.
Yep.
I think any less than 1-1 is completely unacceptable at this point.
Yeah, if they go 0-2, they're in deep trouble, and we're talking about people getting their heads cut off.
Please, for the love of God, split Pavelski and Thornton up. That's all I've got to say.
But here's the other thing too, and we'll wrap this up on the attendance. Look at who the Sharks have had this first month at home. Anaheim is their home opener. Okay, we get that. Then they go out for a week and a half on a road trip. Then they get LA.
LA should have been much better turnout.
Yeah, but again, at the same time, I'm trying not to use the Niners as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
But Niners at the same time playing against the Seahawks isn't going to help you out.
No.
Then you Carolina. You take 3 days off, and it's Nashville. And then you're coming back after you do these weekend games, and then it's Columbus and then Florida. And then you get Anaheim again on the weekend. And then after that, you get the Islanders. I mean, they're the one elite team right now, and they're barely hanging on to a wild card spot, is Chicago, and that's right before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the opponents aren't exactly desirable.
No.
And it's just going to get worse and worse. But anyways,
winning fixes everything.
Yeah, winning fixes everything, and they need to do some of that and a lot of it very soon, or else it can get uglier. So,
oh yeah, because people aren't gonna put up with, like, this year. It's gonna go crazy, and people are gonna go psycho much quicker than they did last year.
Right.
All right, Buckeye, take us home.
Yep. Final thoughts, Landy? Anything you want to add?
Split Thornton and Pavelski.
Ian, what should we expect tomorrow on Teal Tinted Glasses?
Teal Tinted Glasses we had a good show. We had a lot of emails because we were kind of light on content because of the lack of Sharks action and just lack of just a decent storyline in the NHL right now. So a lot of listener questions that we answered, and it was just me and Wendell tonight. Should be a good time. I'm looking forward to hearing it for myself.
And you can check that out on pucknology.net
You
along with
certainly
all
can.
of our content. Ian, if you're watching us through the YouTube channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below or to the side. We would love the love no matter what. We will definitely be back at noon with a full complete show with AJ going off on every little thing, especially if we lose to Dallas, and so be there for that. But until then, for Eric Landy, for Ian Reed, our colleagues Gentry Alexander, AJ Strong, Chris JWS, Rocket Backhander, Wendell, and Daryl, I am PuckGuy14 on Twitter saying good night, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh. Time to go to bed.